What is up YouTube, and welcome to this The Boys episode 4 breakdown and review. This was a superb addition to the series, and it might be that it's weekly, but I think this season is a lot stronger than the last one, with a lot more nuance in the stories and major plot beats. There will be spoilers for the episode breakdown, so please be warned if you've not actually seen this episode. But we start with women talking about love, and other women also pop up throughout the episode doing a similar thing. Now, these are women being prepped as a wife for the Deep. We know his minder from the Church of the Collective is prepping him to be returned into the Seven, and considering he was kicked out for being a total creep and misogynist, then giving him a good wife, so to speak, will whitewash his public image there. Just like Katie Holmes was clearly used as a beard for Tom Cruise, and the Church has some serious Scientology vibes, so there is a connection there. Which I do like this, it's an interesting way of bringing him back, and I think this church is up to some different things. The rest of the episode picks up soon after the events of last episode, with Kimiko's brother being blamed for the massacres caused at the apartment block, with 59 people killed. The Shining Light Liberation Front is now the new enemy, and the whipping boy of Stormfront, as she criticises Vought for not really doing anything to stop these super terrorists. Now, it's a bold move that she is doing this, however we know that she's backed by Stan, so this is all essentially a long con really. Stormfront is now being seen as the leader of the Seven by the general public, and is basically saying what the public want to hear and playing off the public beating the corporation is getting after the Compound V scandal. This is all essentially a ploy by her to seemingly get her own way, but when confronted about this populism by Homelander, well, he has seen her memes and he absolutely goes off at her with the laser eyes. She's essentially using meme magic. This story mirrors how Donald Trump was actually elected, and Homelander wants to appeal to everyone and be loved by everyone, but Stormfront tells him that this is the modern day and the world is dividing and it just doesn't work that way. She's appealing to the extremists by using her memes and getting through to the people who she says are angry. Now, I like this scene even more knowing that Stormfront's DNA in the comics was actually used to create Homelander. And I really like this dichotomy coming together, and she seems to be the Steve Bannon to Trump, who is basically Homelander here, a blonde narcissist. This is even more chilling as Raina has decided to finally give the Butcher what he wants, the location of his wife, but also requests that he look into a character called Liberty, an old superhero. Now, last week we theorised that Liberty was indeed Stormfront, and well, we were right. The ex-CIA agent has had a change of heart and decided to actually help people, especially after the massacre of the apartment block last week. Now, if the creepiest episode and scene of all time was Homelander licking up milk a few episodes ago, if that wasn't bad enough, this time we actually get Homelander heading to a remote cabin, only to find Stillwell in her best Ann Summers. However, she hasn't returned from the dead, but it is actually Doppelganger, a shapeshifter pretending to be her, which is just absolutely rotten as it's some old fat dude. It's just absolutely wrong. That's the kind of stuff you actually instantly close the tab and have a shower and think about what you've done like a naughty little boy. However, it became even worse when Doppelganger shapeshifted himself into Homelander near the end of the episode, as he thought the narcissist himself would only be happy with a clone. Well, this is an interesting piece hinting towards a major reveal, which I won't actually spoil for you if you haven't read the comics, but I guess if you have read the comics, you can guess what I'm getting at. Homelander kills Doppelganger as he needs absolutely no one, and it seems that if he rejects Stormfront, he will go down somewhere where he may never actually return from, an absolute psychopathic rabbit hole. Homelander clearly doesn't trust anyone on the team as he goes after Starlight due to her hesitating last week to kill Huey, but she convinces him otherwise. I'm not really sure how she actually did that. Now, she only didn't die as Queen Maeve begged him, or Homelander, not to kill her. However, his suspicions are actually correct, as later she joins Huey and Mother's Milk on a journey to find Liberty. In one of the funny parts of the episode, Black Noir goes to an analyst to find Buddy Butcher, and he is clearly intimidating as, well, she looks absolutely terrified. It does seem like they might actually be setting up that twist from the comics, although the showrunner has actually hinted that his identity may stay an absolute mystery this season, so it looks like they're changing up things with Stormfront being a different gender and things like that, but they're changing things and just sticking to the original actual spirit of the storylines, but just mixing it up here and giving it a bit of a refresh. And it's fun for people who haven't actually read the comics as well. Now, Starlight meets Huey, and in another episode of Poor Judgment, he decides to take her on a mission to find Liberty as A-Train is booted from the Seven. He saw the guy that he raced last season, and Homelander knows that A-Train can't actually keep up, and his heart seems to actually be giving out. Now, I have two ideas about this, and either he will go rogue or join the Deep and join the Church of the Collective, which seems to be an interesting subplot as they are setting up a new team. Maybe this is actually going to see them form Payback, but I do think maybe Payback has already existed in this universe, and we have the Seven as the Justice League, and Payback were an old version of them, essentially being the Justice Society, which I think is what's happened here, as Soldier Boy was mentioned and name-dropped a few episodes ago. So yes, that does work there, and I think once they start to kind of hint and reform this Payback, it might even be Payback versus the Seven. On the road trip to find out just what Liberty was up to or who this person is, another Billy Joel song plays, which I am loving because he's an absolute G. And we hear some more of backstories for Mother's Milk, and it's about how his father would take him to an ice cream shop after church, and how he actually started to sue Vought, because in the comics his mother was actually exposed to Compound V, and he was then born, which resulted in Compound V being already inside him. Now, he actually uses this information to disarm the woman that was at the door, and it turns out that Liberty murdered her brother, and it was a whole racist situation in the Deep South, absolutely to the surprise of no one. But it turns out that the person who murdered her brother was then paid off and hidden, but that person is actually Stormfront. So that would mean that Stormfront is now 60 plus here. She must be pretty old and getting on with it. So it's curious there that they're doing this. But in the comics, Stormfront was actually smuggled out of Germany in World War II after being a youth experiment. Yes, there was a youth group there, which you obviously know. And Vought created all of this. And he who shall not be named grew disgusted of him. And, well, with her, the actress being Jewish, I think they're kind of switching this up and making her be experimented on as some sort of twisted version of Magneto there, and indoctrinated with racist views. I can't say exactly who it is because my last video on her and her origin got completely demonetized, and as well as that, it also had limited ads, so I can't mention that at all, unfortunately. Now, armed with this information, the crew are unsure what to do, but Starlight will no doubt be able to use this knowledge, and she seems to be growing as a person, especially with the smuggling of Compound V last episode, or the whole 3 episodes that we've had preceding this one. So I like the idea that this racist experiment is using populism, which seems so very apt these days, and I'd say the writing is incredibly sharp here. Now, while this is happening, Homelander is actually on a talk show and drops the bombshell that Maeve is a lesbian, as he was asked about Compound V and why nearly all of the heroes are white. Well, we actually know this because Vought was a turbo racist, further setting up Stormfront's origin reveal. I did find it odd that Homelander revealed this, and it seemed like a lapse of judgment, as he could have used this info that he had on her and her partner, but he actually used this to curry favour with the media, which is a big thing for this episode, as his $200 million PR campaign is failing to Stormfront's meme machine. I do think that she is using him to pursue her creator's original goal, for the goal of bringing back what rhymes with fartses. Yes, I'm not going to say the true thing again there, and I think that is what she's trying to do. Now, in the background, the Butcher has actually been trying to get his wife out of the compound where she is with Homelander and her son, or Homelander comes to visit. Well, she has her son, and he's trying to get her out, but clearly he just wants her to leave him because obviously the trauma of Homelander attacking her is still there, and obviously the kid will be a byproduct of that. But she says that if he grows up without a mother, he's just going to turn into another Homelander psycho. So she says that after she was attacked by Homelander, she went to Vault instead of the Butcher because he would just want revenge, and it would keep him from being so rageful. Now, he calls her, or the kid, a super freak, and it seems like he's gone too far, and they have actually grown too far apart, which is, again, an absolute heartbreak there. But I do like where this went, because the Butcher's whole story was actually getting revenge or finding his wife. So if this has happened, Homelander essentially, this trauma has turned her against the Butcher, then he's going to turn even more savage. But the episode ends with Doppelganger being killed, like I said, and Homelander has a renewed vigor, which is absolutely terrifying for anyone who stands in his way, and he is now on a rampage, and I expect that he will actually try and consolidate his base. And I do see payback coming. We will actually have that team reform in some way, shape or form. However, that is it for this video. Please do drop a like down below. Please do subscribe with notifications on if you want more videos from us. And I will be doing a DC Fandom live stream tomorrow night as well. So come and join out, get some snacks and just have some chats about some really cool stuff. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye.